This program is based on true events. Certain scenes and dialogue have been dramatized, and it may even cause nightmares. I'm Todd Robbins, and all my life I've been fascinated with stories so strange, so dark, so twisted. They couldn't possibly be true. I have 3 of them for you.
Do you know what a Ouija board is?
A story about making contact with the dead and getting a very unexpected answer.
Here at John Hadland, we put a worker's safety at the top of the list.
A place where employees are being worked to death.
Something's going on in this place.
Cheers. Cheers.
And when a toast to someone's health can take a deadly turn.
Oh, my God. I think he's dead.
But rest assured, the stories you're about to see actually happened.
And make it look like an accident.
I guess they're nightmares that have already come true.
Charlie, I miss you so much. The house is so quiet without you.
Life can be so unfair. And so can death. Charlie Bowen died just like that one day. His widow, Nancy, never got a chance for one last smile from him, one final embrace, one last goodbye.
Please.
Nancy Bowen was a spiritual woman, a woman who believed in a spiritual world other than this one. And she was devastated when her husband died. She wanted, to try to reach out.
I want to know if he's at peace.
When the traditional prayer she was raised with fell short,
Fetch 3 cards for me.
Nancy tries the next level. A medium who claims to be able to contact the dead, hoping for a sign from Charlie.
He was not a wealthy man, but he was happy with what he had. I guess you could say that. Yes, I can see that he is at peace.
This fortune teller is just saying to Nancy what she wants to hear, but it's not what she wants to hear. Nancy wants to make direct contact with Charlie, and she should be careful with what she wishes for she might just get.
No matter what I try, there's no way to contact. Listen to me. You must think I've lost it. No, you don't sound crazy, not at all.
Lila Jefferson was a model, and she was a neighbor and a friend to Nancy Bowen.
It can be done, Contacting the dead. How? Do you know what a Ouija board is? Nancy, I have to say something first. The Ouija board. The spirits. It's just sometimes we unleash things that we can't control. Dark things. I'm not afraid. Let us begin. Spirits, we mean you no harm.
Ouija boards started in the late 19th century, but they're strictly a parlor game. Only around the 1910 to 1920 period, they become connected with spiritualism. So Ouija board becomes one of the main ways to communicate with the dead.
Is there a spirit here with a message for someone at this table? Yes. Make yourself known to us. Is it you? That's a lot. Ask him something that only he would know the answer to. Okay. Charlie, what did you do for a living? Baker. Oh my God. It's him.
With each correct answer, Nancy was more convinced that finally the Ouija board had helped her cross over into the spirit world, allowing her to contact her dear departed Charlie.
Lila? Nancy, shh.
But then, something really strange happened.
H-E-K-I-L-L. She killed me. Wait, is that what it's saying? That he was murdered? She killed me. Who is she? Charlie, who killed you? This is black magic. No, Lila. No, I can't be here.
All Nancy wanted was to reach out to Charlie one last time. But when she did, it was like he was there the whole time just waiting for her with a message from beyond the grave. His ghost claimed that Charlie didn't just drop dead. He was murdered. And murder is always a matter for a higher authority.
So there was no, police investigation at the time of the death?
No. I mean, the policeman did come to tell me, but Charlie was at the bakery, and then he just fell over dead. And then he went right to the morgue, and then to the funeral, and there was no investigation.
Ma'am, if there's no cause for the police to believe that your husband was murdered, then he probably wasn't. Murder is a very hard thing to hide for most people. What makes you think different now, anyway?
I thank you for your time.
Nancy felt foolish telling the police why she believed her husband was murdered. So without an investigation, there was only one thing to do to solve this mystery.
We have to try it again. Nancy, this could be dangerous. Just once more. I need to know what it says. I need to know what Charlie is saying. Lila, please. I can't do this without you. All right. Just once more. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Spirit, if you are with us, can you show us? So far, so good. Spirit, are you Charlie? Yes. Who killed you, Charlie?
Slowly, letter by letter, the name was revealed. Clotilde. It's an unusual name, but not unheard of.
I know a woman named Clotilde.
Clotilde? Clotilde? Clotilde?
Are you Charlie?
Newly widowed Nancy Bowen reached out to her friend Lila to make contact with her late husband, Charlie.
Who killed you, Charlie?
Charlie's spirit revealed that he was killed by a woman named Clotilde.
Clotilde.
Clotilde? Clotilde!
Honey. Oh.
And now Clotilde is dead.
She lets him in. He jumps her. Maybe with a hammer, by the look of her wounds. Husband is Henri Marchand. He's the one that found her. He's an artist.
Henri and Clotilde Marchand were French artists. He was primarily a sculptor, and ambitious man wanted to succeed Rodin.
Mr. Marchand, I know this is a difficult time, but we need to ask you a few questions.
Can you tell us where you were earlier this afternoon?
I was at my studio painting.
You have any witnesses that would attest to that?
Yes. I was with one of my models.
You got her name and address?
Yes.
Hi, can I help you?
Afternoon, ma'am. Are you Lila Jimerson?
Ma'am?
Just have a couple of questions to ask you. May we come in? Thank you.
How can I help you, Jennifer?
We're investigating the murder of Clotilde Merchant. Were you with Andre Merchant earlier this afternoon?
Yes, I was with him all day modeling for him.
Did he ever mention his wife? You do know he was married.
Yes, I knew. But no, we never spoke about his wife. I can't believe she's dead. And it's all my fault. No, I didn't do it. But it's just... You see, I have this friend named Nancy, and I can't believe she went through with it.
And just like that, she betrayed her friend. She claimed that Nancy was responsible for the murder of Clotilde and that the Ouija board prompted her to do it.
Okay, Mrs. Bowen. Why don't you tell us about the murder of Clotilde Merchant?
I did it. I killed Clotilde.
Mrs. Bowen, why? Because of something a Ouija board said?
Yes. The Ouija board. Charlie told us that Clotilde killed him. She took him from me. And I had to do something.
Mrs. Bowen, we checked. Charlie wasn't murdered. He had a stroke.
Yeah, well. That's not what Charlie says.
When the police came for Nancy, she was forthcoming. She had told them the plot of the murder. How she had been told by the Ouija board that this woman had killed her husband. Thus, she had taken her revenge.
Henri? Are you Clotilde? What are you doing in my house? I am Nancy, Charlie's wife. You know Charlie, the guy you killed?
I want to thank you, Mrs. Bowen, for being so straight with us. We've typed up a statement for you exactly as you gave it to us. I'd like you to look it over right now, and if it is indeed exactly as you told it to us, just give us your signature right there at the bottom.
I'm sorry, Detective. I can't do that.
Mrs. Bowen, you just admitted to murder. It's all right there, just the way you said it.
I know. And I would read it and sign it if I could. But I can't read.
Now that the detectives didn't see coming. Nancy Bowen had never learned to read or write. It raised one interesting question.
If you can't read, how'd you know what the Ouija board said?
I didn't. Lila did, and she told me what it was saying. Please, Lila, you have to tell me what it says.
Nancy couldn't even read her own name, which her good friend Lila knew.
Please, I can't do this without you. Clotilde.
You see, that Ouija board was inhabited by an evil spirit. But it wasn't Charlie's. It was Lila's.
Bigger.
Lila knew enough about Charlie to bluff her way through some easy establishing questions. And then, when she had the hook set deep into Nancy, Lila pushed the planchette around the board and told Nancy that Charlie had been murdered by Clotilde. But why would she want to do a thing like that?
Lila had started out as a model, but very quickly she and Henri had begun a relationship, a romantic relationship, and was in love with Henri. and she wanted him for herself, and she used Nancy Bowen.
Nancy was charged with murder but got off with a light sentence. Just 1 year in prison. The jury felt sorry for her, losing her husband and betrayed by her friend in her darkest hour. And as for Lila, well, she got off scot-free. Turns out there's no law against being a liar and the worst friend ever. At least not yet. And as for the Ouija board, well, if the story tells us anything, it's that you can talk to the dead, but the dead won't talk back to you. And if they do talk back to you, be wary of what they tell you. Making contact with the dead can be chilling. But in our next story, it's contact with the living that's the most terrifying.
Something's going on in this place.
This job is killing me. You've all said it, or at least thought it, at the end of a hard day. I know I have. Well, the workers here, that was more than just grumblings and dissatisfaction. Though you see, around here, dying was becoming as common as coffee breaks and pink slips. Welcome to the day shift at the John Hadlin Laboratory, where they make lenses of all shapes and sizes. The lab is full of 9-to-5ers, hard-working blue-collar types like Fred, 32-year company veteran. Diana, who hasn't taken a sick day since she started 4 years ago. Graham, an eye for detail, everything in its place.
Diana, Graham.
And then there's Bob Eagle, company man and career middle manager.
Dave,
Bob made sure the line operated with maximum efficiency.
did you check the calibration, Fred?
Everything's great.
John Hadlin Laboratory was a major company in the town of Bovington, England. And most employees there spent their entire careers there. It was a very good place to work. Business was good. The lenses that they made were in high demand, and the employees worked very hard to keep up with that demand.
Oh, about ready to keel over.
Yeah.
Do you want to go for a pint later?
Yeah, sure. I'll see you down there.
Sorry, I can't. I've got to stay late and finish the safety protocol report for the union rep. Maybe another time, though, yeah?
Fred?
No, I'm going home and getting into bed.
Still got the flu, Fred. Oh, my kids finally shook it. Took them best part of 2 weeks, mind. You take care.
Recently, the ranks of the factory were a bit thin. A nasty flu had spread through town, and it seems to have hit the workers here especially hard.
I'm worried about you. You need to get some good rest, all right?
I'm fine.
You don't look fine, mate. Yeah. Have some hot tea, yeah? Liquids and rest. That's what's important.
Hey, everyone, can I have your attention? It's payday, and we're all happy about that. But the thing is, we're down a few key people, as we all know. Yeah, the bug. So, we'll just have to play a little catch-up this weekend, with some overtime. So without further delay, who wants to get paid? And Scott. And I need you to come in tomorrow.
It's uncertain the workers believe overtime pay is worth the risk of catching this bug. But Bob Eagle certainly does.
You? Tomorrow.
You don't like the shepherd's pie? I added extra potatoes just the way you like.
Pie's fine.
Is it your stomach? I knew it. You went back to work way too soon.
I had to. I used up all my sick days.
You get in bed, I mean it.
Okay. But get me up at 5. We have mandatory overtime. And have the early shift.
Fine. 5 a.m. Now you go and get in bed.
The Bovington bug was nasty and stubborn. Workers like Fred Biggs would get hit with it, they'd call in sick, get better, return to work, only to become sick all over again.
Fred, come and get your breakfast. It's on the table. It's 5:30. You're going to be late. Fred?
seems the Bovington bug has gotten the best of him. News of Fred's death spread rapidly through the factory.
Just don't believe it. He was here yesterday. What was he, 60?
Yeah, his poor wife. I don't think they have much in the way of savings.
It's terrible.
Fred was a nice chap. Company's already sent a nice arrangement to his wife. Because after all, we're a family here, don't you think? And that's why now more than ever we have to pull together. And really buckle down and get the job done. Don't you think Fred would have wanted it that way? See you back on the floor.
That was a bit odd.
3 months after the Bovington bug had hit, one factory worker here was dead and dozens others were sick. Even after the bug had run its course in the rest of the town, factory workers here at the Hadlin laboratory were still getting sick.
Look at this. Half the line is down.
I know, it's a nasty bug.
Graham, you know what goes on around here. It's not the bug, is it?
You know how I feel about it. Lacked safety protocols, but management's heard enough of it from me. I have to choose my battles now.
I've been thinking about that. Look at all the chemicals we're using. We're grinding them right into the lenses all day long. Who knows what kind of toxic dust we're breathing in?
Now look, kids. We run tests all the time, as you know. Our safety protocols comply with or exceed all national standards. Understood? That's the last word on the subject.
Listen, something's going on in this place. Something they're not telling us.
Diana seems to be on to something. This didn't appear to be your average flu. It raised a question. Was there something at the factory making everyone sick? Or was it someone?
The flu hit the plant very hard, and there were some very un-flu-like symptoms. For example, there was temporary blindness, hair loss, extreme pain, organ failure. It's very unusual. And 70 employees got sick with this flu, 70. And no one really knew much to do except just to keep working because they had to keep the plant open.
Those that were well enough to come in worked hard, but whoever said, well, hard work never killed anyone had never been to this place. At this factory, you never know who's going to punch out for the last time. A strange illness has sickened dozens of workers at the John Hadlin laboratory. At first, everyone thought it was just a bad flu. But then people started dropping dead. People like plant foreman Bob Eagle.
Bob Eagle? Bob died from this? Something's going on around here. If Bob can get hit with this thing, no one's safe.
It was clear by then that what Bob was experiencing was definitely not the flu. His symptoms seemed to involve the nervous system. He had numbness that spread over his entire body until eventually he was paralyzed.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'd really appreciate it if we could just settle down.
It's stunning how they do it.
After the sudden death of Bob, the workers had had it. Management couldn't blame the flu for everything that was happening. The company bigwigs held a factory-wide meeting. Everyone was here. Attendance mandatory.
Everyone, please, I think we all know that here at John Hadland, we put a worker's safety at the top of the list. And to prove that's the case, we are going to be shutting down production temporarily until we get to the bottom of this, okay? And just so that you are all aware, we have already checked for high levels of environmental toxins.
Excuse me, madam. Have you checked for thallium?
Excuse me?
We make thallium bromide iodine lenses here. I mean, thallium is quite toxic. If it's not properly contained, it can poison anyone who breathes it in or even touches it. I mean, can you honestly say that we're all safe from thallium?
I can honestly say that we put all workers' safety above all else. And thank you all for coming.
What? That's it?
Who is this guy?
I don't know.
Graham. Thallium. Is it poisonous? Do they know?
Yes, it's poisonous. Yes, they have to know.
Just be careful, alright? You don't want to get yourself sacked. Or worse, don't go too far.
The preliminary symptoms of thallium poisoning can often be misconstrued as the flu. As it progresses, they will have other symptoms as hair loss, numbness in the hands and feet, and other aspects that will affect other organs.
Thallium poisoning. Now that's something that the management hadn't thought of. So, in order to not incite panic, they calmly closed the factory down, sent all the workers home, and then brought in a hazmat team to check over the place, every square inch of it. They looked for thallium, radioactive fallout, leakage of any of the chemicals used in the manufacturing process. After a thorough going over, the lab was deemed completely safe. They found nothing that could even remotely be causing the strange symptoms. With the factory deemed safe, management ordered everyone back to work. The day after the results of the investigation were announced, workers were back at their shifts as usual, but on this particular day, someone was missing.
Anyone seen Graham today? He's usually in by now.
I haven't seen him.
Strange. Maybe he's sick. You don't think the company would? I'm not sure what to think. I only know I'm worried about it.
With rumors of a company cover-up and workers dropping like flies, Diana can only assume the worst for her friend Graham.
Graham, you in there? It's Diana. You all right? Graham? Graham? You didn't show up for work.
The discovery of Graham's diary was significant. It was filled with names, dates, and what was most interesting, precise doses of thallium. With sinister precision, Graham Young was working his way through the company directory, poisoning his co-workers, one by one. Graham Young eventually showed up to work that day. He was arrested on the factory floor with a container of thallium in his pocket.
So investigators eventually found that Graham Young had thallium back in his apartment, along with a whole host of other poisonous chemicals. Now, this alone wouldn't have necessarily been illegal. However, what they eventually found gave them the entire case. What investigators found in Graham Young's apartment was startling. His writings indicated he had been poisoning his coworkers for months. Now, Graham had these obsessions with Hitler, with poisoning, with murder that he had had since he was a young man. And in his notes, he had detailed how he had been poisoning his coworkers. He detailed the doses he gave them, the effects of these poisons, and if he had decided whether or not they would live or die.
Graham delivered poison via the tea he prepared for his co-workers on their breaks. He would then watch as the deadly chemicals took their effect and log the results in his diary. During their investigation, police found that Graham Young had a long and twisted history of poisoning the people around him. As a young boy, he had poisoned classmates, teachers, even his own family, just to watch how people reacted to poison. At 14 years old, he was sent to an insane asylum, and when he got out, he went to work at the John Hadlin Laboratory. Management never knew they were hiring a madman with a penchant for poison. In Graham Young's short time at the Hadlin Laboratory, he poisoned 70 co-workers, including Diana, who narrowly escaped death, but was left with major lifelong complications.
Graham Young was eventually convicted for 2 murders, 2 attempted murders, and 2 counts of administering poison. For these crimes, he received 4 consecutive life sentences, even though he poisoned 70 of his co-workers. Ironically, while he was in prison, he was himself poisoned by a fellow inmate.
Graham Young died in prison at the age of 42. It was much to the relief of his fellow inmates and the staff at the prison, because while Graham was around, they were always filled with worry whenever they consumed any kind of beverage, especially tea. The next story is about drinks of a different kind.
Cheers.
That bring a dark meaning to the phrase, last call.
Is he dead?
Luck. Some people have it, some don't. And then there's Mike Malloy. During the 40-some years he's been around, he's done nothing with his life, and he sees no reason to do anything differently now. He's a part-time day laborer and a full-time drunk.
Michael Malloy loves the bottle, as do the other guys in the speakeasy, and so they sort of bond over this mutual love of drinking.
From the outside, he appeared to be the unluckiest man in the world, but appearances can be deceiving.
Mike. Mike,
Yeah.
Come up.
Yeah?
Yeah. Take your cab.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Have a good night. Oh, jeez.
It's the other way.
Thank you, Tony.
It's been a long night of drinking with the boys. Mike's got his fill and has just enough motor skills to hail a cab.
Taxi!
Just came out of nowhere.
Oh, my God. Is he dead?
Jeez, Johnny, I think he's dead. He walked right in front of me. He ain't breathing. Too bad, dude. Give us some room. No, I'm not getting pulse. Yeah, we lost him. Gotta get to Gurney.
Try to calm down. Can you look at me?
After Michael Malloy was hit by the cab, he's mangled pretty badly. He suffers a terrible injury to his leg. He suffers several broken bones. He's taken to the hospital where he stays for quite a while, convalescing from his injuries.
Taxi!
You hail a cab and it runs you over? If that's not bad luck, I don't know what is. Out of a hospital and onto a bar stool. As soon as he could walk, Mike was back with his only friends, drink in hand.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And the next one's on me. And the one after that.
That's what I like to hear.
That's the guy.
I got you. After his return to the speakeasy, he's ready to start drinking again, and his friends are more than willing to sit and drink with him. And once again, they return to their hard drinking ways.
To the only 2 guys who came to see me in the hospital. That's right. You got it, Mikey.
To call Mikey unlucky is not really true. He was lucky enough to have friends that saw him through thick and thin. And with friends like these, why quit drinking?
See you tomorrow, Mike. Have a good night, Mike.
It's a cold, cold November evening, and every New Yorker is feeling the freeze. Some more than others. That's our man, Mike. It's been a couple of hours since he left the bar, but here he is, alone, naked, and frozen to death.
No. He's gone. All right. I'll get the gurney.
It's so very ironic. Mike Malloy survived being hit by a cab, only to end up here dead a month later. This seems to be the end of the story of this poor, sad man.
All right, get on here.
Hey!
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hey! Welcome back. What's your name? Hello? Sir, what's your name?
Another bit of bad luck, another brush with death. Mike Malloy's long losing streak just went on and on.
Take it easy. After nearly freezing to death, Malloy made his way to a homeless shelter where he picked up a fresh suit of clothes. After that, he returns to the speakeasy with a bad case of influenza and ready to once again hit the bottle.
You'd think that after a second near-death experience, Mike would re-examine his life choices.
Hey, Mike. Good to see you, buddy. Hey, Joey.
But no. Just a few days later, he was right back at Pat's, elbow to elbow with Joe and Tony.
Hey, where the hell have you been? We haven't seen you in days.
Pour me a shot and keep him coming. It's a long story. Ah, you know, buddy. Thanks.
That night, Mike drank enough to drown a sailor. At the end of the night, Mike stumbles his way home. Not much of a home, but when all you need is a place to collapse between last call and opening, it works just fine for Mike Malloy. After a few days, the neighbors called the police. They couldn't stand the smell anymore. The police came, and since it was Mike Malloy, they checked twice, but Mike was dead. A car accident, a night spent in the freezing cold, and now this. It looks like Mike is finally gone. But looks can be deceiving. But not this time. Mike Malloy is really dead. That would have been the end of the short and sad story of Mike Malloy. But it seems someone had taken out an insurance policy on this penniless, unmarried man with no kids. Now, why would someone go and do a thing like that?
So this is what I want to know. How'd you think you get away with it, huh?
When the autopsy came back on Mike, they find he didn't just die an alcoholic's lonely death. He was murdered.
Killed the guy. Never hurt no one. And for what? Some insurance money?
It was a decidedly unpleasant way to go. You see, Mike died of carbon monoxide poisoning, and it wasn't an accident. All it took was one look at that insurance policy for detectives to find their prime suspects.
Can I get a smoke?
Start talking.
All right, look. It was all Tony's idea. And I swear I told him to leave the guy alone.
Turns out those barfly buddies that always had Mike's back were actually trying to kill him. But when the police uncovered the insurance fraud, the conspirators ratted each other out faster than they could say cheers. Hit by a cab, found naked outdoors in the cold, all those near-death experiences, it all appeared to be a string of very bad luck. But in reality, those horrible incidents were failed attempts to kill poor Mike Malloy.
Tell it.
You see, it was Mike's old drinking buddy Tony that paid Hershey Green, the cab driver, to run him over.
And make it look like an accident.
And the night Mike got so drunk he was found near death in an alleyway?
There you go, Mikey. That's the Mike we know.
Well, the would-be killers had a hand in that, too. They left him in that alley, naked in the freezing cold, hoping he'd die there and it would appear to be an accident. But Mike survived it all, and after their attempts to make his death look like an accident failed, the killers got desperate.
Give me the hose.
Enough, Mikey.
They broke into his room, hooked up a rubber hose to the gas line, and filled his lungs with carbon monoxide, leaving nothing to chance.
Tony!
Easy. Easy, Mike. Come on, Mikey.
There you go. Is he dead?
Joe Murphy and Tony Marino received death sentences for their truly bizarre and despicable plot to kill Mike Malloy. They were executed at Sing Sing Prison.
Let's get out of here. Yeah.
And Harry Hershey Green, the cabbie, he was sentenced to prison too. The saddest thing of it all was the price that Joe and Tony put on Mike's friendship. How much would they have made if they'd been able to cash that policy? Not much, about enough to pay off their bar tab here and a little bit left over. To them, Mike Malloy's life was as cheap as the booze served in this joint. I told you all these stories were strange. And don't worry, I have plenty more. Until then, may all your nightmares come true.